live. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we are live, guys. Welcome everyone to our weekly Cast 2025 live stream. Where we get together and we talk with some of our speakers for the event or some of our sponsors for the event to kind of get you all excited, get some open discussion around some of the topics that are going to be very, very pressing. With me at the moment is Milan Call, who is one of our speakers, and Peter Folzati, who is also one of our speakers. Do you guys want to just introduce yourself really quick and talk a little bit about your sessions at CAST this year?
Yeah, Peter, do you want to go first?
I can go first. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Peter Feltaz, and yeah, this is going to be not my first time in Utah, but the first time to speak in Utah and in Salt
Very
Lake.
nice.
Yeah. And I've been in testing for almost 20 years now, starting back in game testing for Dota, been with EPAM for 13 years now. And basically what I'm going to bring to the conference is both a hands-on test automation session and more of a leadership and consulting related session. So I'm really looking forward to seeing so many of you there in Salt Lake City.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Amazing. That gives us
Go ahead, Milan. Sorry, what were you saying?
okay. Oh, no, I was saying that gives a mic. That kind of gives a mic to me. Thank you, Peter. I'm really looking forward. I know we have a parallel session, and chances are we won't be able to listen to each other live. But I
Exactly.
would really
Yeah.
look forward to I really look forward to be watching the recording, and unfortunately we will be missing each other on stage live on the day of conference, right? But yeah, I mean, simple. I do share the experience. First time going to be Uta at a conference, invited by Cast, and Gwen, thanks for having the stage ready for us and
Oh,
all these live,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and the live sessions as well. I think these are really helpful for us to explore the audience and let them know what we are going to be talking about. I kind of bring around 17 years of experience as of 2025, and I'll be talking about the experience I have had with the CXOs such as CTOs, CEOs of companies, and making them understand and value what quality and quality engineering team kind of brings a business value kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that is something I would be talking about.
Awesome. And that's actually a lot of the discussion that we kind of want to get started today, is really kind of the quality leadership crisis and some of the major challenges facing quality, anybody who is in either a leadership, management position, leading engineering teams, you name it, with some of the challenges that are facing us, both from an industry perspective as well as a technology perspective. And I did, just to kind of set the stage for some of this, I'm pulling up my research from last night. I found it fascinating because there's, the trends and the reports that come out are always, always kind of keep you in the loop in terms of the stuff that's really going on and the things that are trending from week to week and month to month. One of the things that stands out right now, especially because you're seeing so many people in the market, is really this kind of shift of do we need quality teams? Do we need testing teams who are separate from our development teams? Do we need do we even need testers? Does it even make sense for testers, right? And all at the same time, you have quality teams and testing teams who are dealing with more challenges than ever in terms of the scope of testing, the complexity of the technologies that they are, trying to ensure quality for. It was interesting. Catalan recently did a report in 2024 that said 48% of their respondents cite lack of time as the biggest challenge for quality teams today. How many, And that just rang true for me. Like that is one that just feels completely consistent. Have you guys seen this? Does this pass your test in terms of like one of the biggest crises I think that we're dealing with?
Absolutely. So yeah, you mentioned that. Was it 48 percentage that you mentioned that?
48%. Yep.
I think time management is like, okay, let me slow down. I like to say too many things. So usually I like to say that English is the most important skill that I have as someone who is not a native English speaker. But I think the second definitely or third the most important is time management. And I was struggling with it, especially at the beginning of my career, focusing on too many things, trying to say too many things at the same time. And like try figure out like what you have on your plate to finish
Hmm.
on that day,
Yeah.
during that week, during the next one sprint, and so on. That's very important. Of course, you have project management tools that help you, but people individually as well need to improve their time management skills. And if they
Yeah.
don't, then it impacts the whole team and the whole organization. So I think this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
important.
Correct,
Absolutely.
correct. Yeah, I too agree with that. I mean, there are two perspectives of it: time management as a human, as an individual, tester, or myself as a team leader, or QA manager, or anyone. And then there's a separate time management that to your research, going right, how much time we have. So
Yeah.
an organization has a limited amount of time to ship
Yeah.
features. So how your personal time kind of fits into the big picture, it has to be very well coordinated. And we cannot just say next 365 days we are going to do this every single day. No, that's not going to work out. So you
Right.
have to really be mindful about the analytics, the
Yeah.
dynamics of the delivery, the progress, business. Like AI disrupted everyone, right? But then the company's goal and visions and deliveries their customer are still pretty much same. It's just the
Yeah.
demand has gone like on high speed or high scale. So time management, I mean, is an essential kind of skill, I would say,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
each of us should have. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, and you hear this time and time again. You hear, you know, make sure that if you are engaging yourself in activities that they are the highest value activities for whatever it is you're trying to achieve, right? There are a couple of really great books on that. I know one that I read recently was Essentialism, and I think I've called that out on a couple of our sessions from a caffeinated quality perspective. But it's called Essentialism, and it is really about like identifying and prioritizing those highest value things, and then recognizing that there are some things that are just going to fall off your plate as a result of that. And what you find is that in a lot of cases those lower value things just didn't matter anyway, right? So like if you're getting bogged down and you're feeling time constraints, you're feeling scope constraints, we can't do everything, right? And I think that's a reality and a transition that we as quality professionals don't like, because we feel like we've got to have our eyes on everything, and sometimes we're not kind of rethinking. Maybe it's not about testing everything, maybe it's about making sure that we're testing the right things at the right time. And what other things are we bringing in from an automation perspective, from a scanning perspective, from a code quality perspective, that allows us to kind of go into some of this validation and some of this testing with a little bit more confidence, so that we don't have to waste time on the areas that may be more time consuming. um, so yeah, I mean, it is, and I know there's so much nuance to this topic. We have one of our LinkedIn users says, yeah, we need to do more to train people when to say no to doing something. And someone else may be responsible for, and making sure that we're not taking on more than we need to. Fantastic point. Good
I
point.
think that's a very good point. Like
Yeah.
learning how to say no is a skill which took me, years
Yeah.
to,
I
because it's
still
not
don't do it well, if I'm being honest.
exactly, and it's not about just saying no. I think saying no is the last part of the puzzle when you have the rationale, when you know why
Yeah.
you're going to be saying it. Because obviously any situation, personal life, project, delivery, when you say no, people ask why.
Right.
So if the why is not very clear in your own mind or your mind's eye probably, then it's very hard to say no. And then that's where I wish there was a training, this is how you say no, but then everyone would have done the same. So whoever asked this question in audience, I think it's a skill of time, which you
Yeah.
learn as you grow. Um, I mean, there are various examples, like in software, industry and testing, saying no is still easy compared to a surgeon saying, no, I'll not do the surgery because I don't know this part of the body. No, sometimes saying no has to be legit with some reason and rational, as simple as I don't know, right? That's why I don't do it. So here is a no because I
Right.
don't have skill, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I constantly teach that to my team members. That's okay. To say no, but make
Right.
sure you come up with a rational, like simple
Right.
as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more
Absolutely.
thing I would add is so learning how to say no, but also it's mentoring and delegation. So a lot of people like to say difference between assignment and delegation. What is it? And they like to ask it on interviews and so on. I think the key here is, do you mentor the people? If you are overwhelmed, your responsibilities take more time than the regular 8 hours per day, and you start piling up 9 or 10 or more hours of work every day. That's a sign that you are not doing something right. So
Hmm.
either you need to optimize your work, or start saying no to certain tasks, or start teaching others how they can take over some of your responsibilities.
Mm. Yeah.
And yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to
So,
interrupt.
I think usually at the beginning it's an additional work for you. So when you are already overwhelmed, you put just something like at least an hour on top of your daily work. But what
Yeah.
happens? You save 2, 3, or 4 hours after that every day.
Right. Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Milan.
I'll actually add something to that because that's a very valid point. It goes back to a previous point of discussion, time management. So if you have managed your time, you can do it. You kind of guesstimate or estimate during sprint planning or in general. Highly likely it's gonna be always yes. The no's start coming more often when there is a less of a planning. So you don't look to more than 2 sprints from now, and you suddenly get this
Yeah.
high priority thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
issue, defect, or delivery, and then it's very hard to say no as well, which makes sense. But as I said, it's a constant learning, and saying no with a reason and rational kind of makes sense, but make sure you don't repeat the same reason for every single no you are going to be saying in future.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean I mean it does come back to one of our core values around understanding context, right? And it's not just understanding context of the testing, it's understanding context of the business, it's understanding the context of what quality means in that business and what things are most important for the organization. Um and then being able to look at the data and look at the information and look at your current state and make decisions about that, right? And you know if I think one of the other things is that and you're seeing this be a trend, right? Is that we like to, I think there is this idea that testing has to be kind of off in their own little world. And really, as agile has become mainstream and you've seen kind of the graying of the roles and the responsibilities, it's really, really important to have the strong partnerships um, with your development team, with your product team, right? With your project managers who are working with you, or your scrum coaches that are working with you, so that you are collectively taking on the responsibility of quality. And so, I think in those cases it becomes a little bit easier to have the conversation of no, I can't. I mean, it's not a matter of no, I'm not going to do this. It's here's what I have on my plate right now. These are what I have seen as the most important thing. Can I get clarification that these are the most important things? And if so, how are we going to address some of these other big priority things that you're bringing up? And do we need to pull in help, right? And what are our options? And getting collective about how we solve the problems together, as opposed to just being like, nope, we don't have time to do it. So we're either not going to test or we're going to expend the time, right? Like those aren't the only two options in the
Correct.
conversation.
Correct. Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's really right. I mean, with the no, there comes, this is why it's no. And we kind of can make it yes if we do this, or if we would have done this kind of
right.
real, and again, these are all project and, situation driven kind of situations,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they are. They really are. Well, I mean, I think, and we could talk for hours just on that one. I know that that's probably going to be part of the conversations that you guys are bringing to the table at Cast this year. But I do want to delve into a few of the other ones that we have out there. So obviously, a time crisis, big one. Let's talk a little bit about skills and resource shortages. So, you have the industry. We had a little bit of conversation about this in our last live stream about all of these companies that have all of these positions open and posted out there, and they the general consensus is that they're struggling to get these filled. Um, and yet you have thousands and thousands of professionals and testers out there who are looking for roles currently open, right? We've got talent out there looking, not getting in front of hiring managers. And I there's a disconnect happening, right, where the opportunities are there, and the positions are there theoretically, but either the pool of candidates doesn't have the skill sets that they need, or they're not getting connected in some way, right? Are you guys looking, how are you guys going to approach that challenge with what you guys plan on talking about?
Um, okay, so it's a very interesting market right now. I think last 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things are impacting it. War, IT crisis after
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic, and so on. I believe, and of course now Gen AI being quite important as a skill set, or not a skill set, but people need to learn about Gen AI, how to use
Mm-hmm.
LLMs and prompt engineering. And I believe a big challenge here is if you post a job and you're looking for people, immediately 100 or 200 people sign up for it. Many of them just spam any job that they find. And the problem becomes that you are just overwhelmed as a hiring manager. So of course, what you do automation, and you know that automation is pretty useful and important. We automate so many things in our lives, not just testing,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not perfect. And what
Right.
happens? Maybe you weed out people who are actually good candidates, and those who are not necessarily good at the job, but are good at writing good CVs and making them custom tailored for these different positions might get into that interview. So I think that's a big challenge here, that the skills necessary to get hired
Mm.
are not necessarily the same as doing the job.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And as they say, job hunting is a full-time job. So you have to be like efficient, proficient at it, especially when you're switching jobs after months of, working hard in a company, and due to some reason you're finally leaving it, right?
Yeah.
But I'll share my personal experience. So I was building this team from ground up in Canada, one of the project, and we posted our QA job on LinkedIn, and within 2 hours, my HR person had to shut down the job, and they had to keep it open on our company's website. And they said within 2 hours we got 250 CVs. So he said, "There's no way I can look at 250 CVs, shortlist 50 or 25, and then call them, and then kind of get to know, what, they're not a fit, like
Right.
cultural fit or a technical fit." And then, as Peter mentioned, ATS and all these softwares which do resume scanning, I think kind of sometimes become a necessity. But these are all problem statements. I
Yeah.
think the question you asked, Gwen, was how do you handle it? So if you think about a bow tie, there's an ample kind of people over here wanting to have job, and there are ample jobs opportunities available. If you go on LinkedIn, you'll find thousands of jobs pretty much for each role. And then there is this small funnel which kind of goes down and goes up. So that funneling is right now what is happening in industry. You have lot many people open for role, and you have probably have not lot but many jobs open up,
Yeah.
right? This process either is automated through software such as ATS or people calling. But my advice to people who are searching job and struggling with this, even if they have skills, is go to conferences, go to
Mm.
meetups, go to places where you can talk to people. So I
Yeah.
did a conference in Seattle in a couple of months back, and we did this small. I think one of the volunteer was having this idea. They said, okay, you know what? We'll put a red dot sticker for the people who are hiring and green dot for the people who are looking for job,
Yeah.
and you just talk. So
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
breaks, I see people talking, exchanging their ideas. And I am sure many of them at least got into the first round of interview rather than going the whole, cycle of, can my CV be shortlisted?
Right.
So highly, highly recommend people not only cast any conference meetup group happening in your local area. If
Yeah.
it's free, don't miss it. If it's
Yeah.
chargeable, try to put that as an investment and make some
Yeah.
good networks, like a long-term network relationship. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
welcome, Paul.
Welcome, Paul. Another one of
Thanks.
our
Hello.
past 2025 speakers has joined us, a longtime friend. And boy, I think you've been very, very closely tied to AST for many years, Paul. Yeah. You want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. I'm actually a founding member of AST.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, been involved since I have no 2003 is coming to mind, but I can't remember exactly when AST first started. Uh, yeah, I'm old. See, look at all the gray hair. Uh, I've,
Mine
You,
too.
you, you're
yeah,
experienced. I won't say old.
yes, very experienced. So experienced, I now have a brand new right hip. I'm so experienced, parts of me have worn out.
Uh-oh.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
the good news is it hurts less now that it's been replaced. Anyway, I am a software testing executive currently looking for work, although a few irons in the fire, which is cool. Uh, I've been involved in software testing since 1995,
Mm-hmm.
so likely before some of the people on the call were born. Uh, I worked for 17 years in Ottawa, Canada for a company that ended up being Alcatel-Lucent, which is now part of Nokia. And then I moved to New York City, where I trained underemployed and unemployed people in software testing and then hired many of them. And then I switched to the medical field and worked at Metadata doing clinical trials. And then I worked in retail and then insurance. And now I am looking for work. So I'm one of 5 instructors worldwide of rapid software testing created
Mm-hmm.
by James Bach and Michael Bolton, also both founding members of the Association
Yep.
for Software Testing. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I'm super excited. I have talked at Cast. I saw somebody put stats through in the Slack channel, and I am tied with Kem Kaner for the most talks at Cast. Uh, but what he has over me is this is going to be, well, it's my second scheduled keynote. My first one was last year where the whole conference got canceled due to situations beyond our control. And so this will be my first keynote, even though I am tied for the most number of talks at CAST conferences. But I've been to all but 2 of them, so
Nice.
including the ones in Australia. So CAST
Nice.
Awesome.
Texas in Australia. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. It sounds like we're going to be back to our regular size. The previous ones have been fairly small. They've still been amazing.
Yeah.
The cast has such a different feel to it than any other conference. And I think it's because it's a conference put on for testers by testers,
I agree.
and
Yeah.
that's a big difference. It's not a for-profit organization. There's no overseeing people earning salaries, putting it together and focused on that. It is testers for testers, and the amount of amazing conversations I've had in hallways and at breaks at Cast is outstanding. It is truly unmatched. We also have facilitated question and answer periods after every talk, so putting the confer back into the conference. Anyway, enough about CAST. People are here because of it. Let's get back to
That's all
the
good. It's all good. It's all related, right? Yeah. So Paul, just to kind of bring you up to speed, we're talking about a lot of the leadership challenges and crises that we're finding ourselves in as quality leaders, dealing with some of the challenges, whether it be competency, resourcing, finding the right people for the right roles, keeping up with just the sheer scope of testing. And how we are handling that from a strategic perspective. I'm going to throw the elephant in the room because I think it's time for us to kind of delve into this a little bit. And even if we don't get to all the answers today, obviously we're going to be talking a lot about this at CAST. And to just kind of entice you all even more, we've got that discounted code up in the corner. So for anybody that is interested in continuing this conversation past the hour today and meeting all of these individuals on this live stream, including myself here in Salt Lake City, August 25th through the 27th, to get
very
even
beautiful
more.
city.
A
Very
what?
beautiful city.
It is a beautiful
I
city.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going there. My son actually works at the airport there.
Oh, very nice. Okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
cool. Very
So you're
cool.
And
going to be getting a very personal welcome, right?
Yes.
yes, he better pick me up at the airport.
All right. So I'm going to throw it out there, right? Executive buy-in, business alignment, convincing C-level.
That's the elephant in the room?
Oh, man. Yeah. It's a big one right now, right?
It is, but anyway, I know you were already talking about the Gen AI stuff, but the fact that AI makes stuff up as the way it works, the whole way Gen AI works is literally making stuff up. Some of it works, some of it's garbage, and I've seen somebody who was bragging that their one person checked in 250,000 lines of code using AI.
Mm.
That amount of tech debt is insane. That's
Yeah.
the elephant in the room. But anyway, let's
It
talk
is.
about
It is
executive
another
buy-in.
one of them. Yes. And I, you know what? I think it brings a different kind of. It's a different. It's part of the same conversation, right? Because when you look at C-levels, you see the conversations happening at that level. AI is the name, is the word of the day right now. And if we are not investing in AI, if we're not moving forward with AI, if we're not automating everything, and AI is going to replace half our staff to get everything done, right? Like we've seen that kind of growing enthusiasm around everything AI.
Yeah.
And yet, and at the same time, right, going back to uh, the elephant I introduced, which was, you have teams struggling just for organizations to see the value of testing and the value of quality teams. And I think there are a number of reasons for that. Why don't we take a focus just for right now and talk a little bit about, why we feel this is a problem? Why in 2025 are we still having the conversation about the value add of quality and testing programs?
I I think it's easy to answer from because testers are usually called as test engineers or QA engineers are engineers, not salespeople necessary or not managers. So
Mhm.
people who are focused on finding defects and reporting on them. So their mindset is very different, and it's not about like, okay, how do I report on the value it brings? Of course, you can report from technical point of view or from a user's perspective, which by the way is also tied into what is the value, but how to articulate it and how to articulate it in a sentence or two when you would like to talk about it for an hour or for a full day. I think that's the challenge. I personally went through this, especially as someone who is not a native English speaker, trying to
Mhm.
tell that to other non-native speakers as well, like German speakers, but both of us speaking in English. That's a challenge.
Mhm.
And when you send out an email that is 3 pages long, and you get a response that "thank you very much," and that's the only answer, and
Yeah.
no next steps, then you feel that okay, something is not right on your side with the
Yeah.
communication. So I think that's one of the reasons. Of course, there are many other reasons.
Yeah. Oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Mel.
Paul. Please go ahead.
No, you haven't spoken since I've joined. I'll let you go.
I think I was the one who was speaking before you joined, but I'll add there. So I think Peter, I had the same feeling and curiosity, I would say, to know how many roles are there, how we are known, like if it's QA, QE, few testers. I ended up creating a public repository, asking people by filling a simple Google form, what are the QA or testing roles in your organization? I was amazed. I think 2 years back, 135 plus roles, which are in the QA organization of different companies around the globe. And I'm sure if I go and update that, it would go beyond 200. But to the question which Gwyn asked, like making leadership understand that the value we bring to the team is always subjective to what we are delivering. So some companies might have a dedicated QA org. Some companies which might be startup would not have budget for the QA or testers, right? So I was talking to a startup and they said, you know what, our customers are startups with size of 20 or less. And I said, okay, what do you sell? And they say that we actually automate their testing. What kind of testing? We do whatever they want. And eventually during my discussion, I figured out they are basically writing unit test cases because that startup was not able to afford the extra number of hours for developers to write unit test case or hire QAs to test the product. And interestingly, there's so many companies in the world which are like running out of budget, but they still want to do testing. They don't know how to start, and they are young CTOs, CEOs, or passionate people. So as a matter of fact, this company ended up selling that tool to 2,000 users in like 3 months. 2,000 users, 3 months. And that was their selling point.
Hmm.
So that is on one scale. But when you go on the enterprise level, the important things are not speed testing and all that. I think the importance which takes is the reputation. So business does not want to lose the reputation they have built over the years. Think about big banks, airlines. So they would need QAs to support the auditing requirements, compliance, and give the proof that it was working, kind of thing. Because any single defect or any Twitter written by a very famous personality is a huge cost to business. And that's where I think the quality orgs hold a very solid value. But then the point is how you present that story in the leadership meeting as a QA leader is, project to project, is company to company, is your experience, who is your leader, who is the decision maker. So there are a lot of variables, I would say, not a straight answer, to win probably, which you were expecting. But I'm curious to know
No,
about
I mean
what do you
it's all
think?
part of it, right?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I don't think Gwen was expecting a straight answer for any of the questions she's asked.
Probably yes.
No, that's part of the fun of this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, to build on what Peter and Milan have said, the reason that testers are historically not valued, it's pretty complex. A lot of it comes down to leadership, their previous experience with testing organizations and things like that. But testers have been bad at selling their worth. Historically, we are, as a group, very bad, as Peter said, tend to be engineers, or at least people who think that way, and are consequently trying to do the job and thinking the bugs will speak for themselves. Something that we fail to do often, including in the defects that we raise into Jira or whatever, is how that bug impacts the business. It's one thing to say, oh, the I've discovered a fairly obscure way, but to corrupt some data in the database, and people think, oh, corrupt data, that's bad, we should fix it. But what they don't put in there is, if a customer comes across some of their data that's been corrupted, they're going to lose confidence in our company, and that's going to cost us business and things like that. So having the tie back to the business, being able to speak when someone says, how's testing going, you can say, it's going pretty well. We found 2 critical bugs that probably would have put us on the front page of the New York Times. And those have been fixed before a customer came across them, or before we shipped, depending on if you're CI/CD or I guess depending on the industry you're in. But being able to instead of just saying, "Hey, it's going great," we're finding bugs and getting them fixed, that's boring. But to be able to say, "We've done 2 things this week that stopped us getting on the front page of the New York Times." If the executives hear that, they're going to say, "Well, I don't want to replace those people because I don't want to end up there. I don't want to be Replit there saying that we've deleted live customer data and then our AI bot lied about it for a few hours."
Right. It's interesting. You mentioned how we're telling that story, right? Because I think one of the key realities of executive leadership is that you are thrown a bunch of PowerPoints and like you're in meetings constantly. You're being presented metric after metric after metric after metric. And I think that there is a certain blindness that like you just get desensitized to it, and it's just data and it's just like blind information, right? So I think one of the questions that came up is, how can we advocate? Well, I think part of it, to your point, Paul, is in how we're telling that story, right? Like sitting down with the organization, especially in leadership roles, and discussing, here are the major issues that we were able to prevent because of these initiatives and because of these activities, and even even utilizing the failures of others to really make that shine, right? I mean, because it is not uncommon to see now. And I think the more we see AI being implemented, the more you're going to see these flubs happening, because we haven't built out the right quality programs to make sure that the way that we're implementing these advanced technologies are being done in a way that's responsible, in a way that's being done fully ethically. And and frankly, a lot of us and a lot of the organizations, I mean, the people who have created these technologies don't even fully understand how they work, which is all a risk, right? All of that is a risk to these next generation tools and solutions. And so, I see it from 2 different perspectives. One, I think it is really, really important from a quality leadership perspective to make sure that we're keeping current, and to make sure that we understand, that we know what's going on in that space, and we know the constraints, and we know the limitations, and we know the flaws, right, of these technologies that are being implemented, and we're part of those conversations, right? Because when we talk about advocacy, part of that is looking at that, seeing what's coming down the roadmap, and then making sure that we are creating the type of culture within our teams where every single tester feels accountable to coming up to speed on some of that stuff, and to keeping themselves current, and to understanding how it applies to their day to day, right? Um, and there's a lot of fluff, right? We're in that weird time period where it's a lot of marketing promises, and we've all experienced kind of the pros and the cons of AI. And I would encourage anybody who hasn't to just go do some basic playing around with it, and see for yourself what some of the limitations are, because you're going to experience it really quickly. And so being able to sit in a room with executives and go, all right, if this is the path we want to go down, here are some of the quality perspectives we need to bring to the table, and here's what we're going to need to do to get there, from a testing perspective, from a responsibility perspective, from a security perspective, from a compliance perspective, from a performance and scalability perspective, and all the illities that come along with the quality realm, right? Not the least of which is the functionality piece of it, and the value add from that perspective. And so I think I think part of it is just making sure that you have a perspective on the conversation. I think all too often, quality leaders just end up kind of sitting in the corner and hanging out and, taking what comes, right? And for those of us who have been on these teams, a long time and who've been in this market for a long time, I think we've realized that does not only us, but our entire practice and our entire team a disservice, because we're not active participants in the conversation as we're defining this stuff, let alone figuring out the solutions for it.
And let me add to that. So it's also, and I'm going to be a little bit different, but still tied to this original topic, that for the different levels, you have different kind of challenges, like working together with the whole engineering team, like with developers who don't want to do testing, or maybe they want to do testing, but they don't know how to do that, or
Yeah.
the middle management who really want to be able to report value to their upper management, but don't know how testing is done or what value testing is bringing, or the C-suites, which again, like it's a big gap between the engineers and the C-suites in some of the organizations, especially in bigger ones. Like, what do they want from me, and how I can tell them that it's valuable? It's going to be a different conversation, different type of reporting than even to the middle managers, and that's something that we need to learn if we haven't learned it so far.
Yeah.
And of course, in each organization, it's going to be different. And I can give two examples, one for like a developer example and one for a C-suite example. Developer, that was a colleague of mine, good developer guy, kind of junior, so he was still learning a lot, and he didn't want to fix one issue which was pretty minor. And I understood why he didn't want to. And then he told me, like, I'm just going to ignore it. And I told him, okay, you can go ahead. That's your decision. But what happens is that once I finish, I finished the regression testing, I sent you the list of bugs. Now, so to fix these are the priorities. You fix everything except for one. That's amazing. That's this only one. Next round is going to be the test execution by the tester of the client. And you know what? She's going to find that issue. And who is going to be beating me? She's going to be kicking my back part. And I'm going to be coming for you. And I'm going to be kicking your back part, because it's not going to be a good time for me. So please spend a little bit of time on it. I know that right now you have a bit of time. Please try to fix it. So then he understood that it's important for me for this reason, and that's why it's should be important for him as well, because we are one team. So that's good. In the end, he understood why it is important. Then the next example, the C-suite example, I was doing a QA assessment for an organization, or for an organization where the main sponsor was the SVP of solution architecture. And what I thought and what we thought, that this guy must be super technical and expecting like huge architecture diagrams and so on. So that's what we provided in the middle of the assessment after like 4 weeks or something like that. And then after 50 minutes into the call, he asked why I'm presenting this. Like, because this is showing like where the defects are mostly originating from, how we are seeing the different microservices connecting to each other, and the defects that you are finding here are actually originating from here, and so on and so on. And then he said, I don't care. Tell me the money value. Like, what is the value for me? And then he gave us another week to fix that. A week later, we showed the money value, and then he was happy. And then he said that, okay, we can continue the work. So it's important to also get to know the people and what they are expecting before starting to report to them. Of course, you can
Yeah.
still report and fail and then come back, but it's not, you don't always get a second chance.
Yep.
You're spot on. I think it really is very important to understand who the quality value is being delivered to. Is it gonna be delivered to a non-technical person, program manager, or a CEO? CEOs are not necessarily be CTOs, right? So, or your delivery is going to be understood by an engineering manager who was a QA or a developer at some point of time in their life, or a CTO who understands the value we bring to business. So once you have that context, and it again depends upon your company, which people are watching and their company structure, and the hierarchies would be different. But it's very important because mostly everyone wants, can we deliver high quality products? But nobody knows how. And
Yeah.
that's the story I think we as a leader kind of build up. And that's why it depends upon org to org. So for some companies, for space missions, they cannot afford to have a defect which will flop the space mission. They would still be okay if they have an internal portal which have a drop down kind of issue kind of thing. But at the same time, there is a support system, ticket kind of system which is publicly available. They cannot afford to have incorrect drop downs because their end user is using that every day. So the story changes that, hey, the unit testing has to be better in the drop down case. But in the space mission, every single end-to-end test scenario has to be tested every single release, no matter if it takes less time, days, weeks, or whatever is it, right? But I'll add one of my own example, just to give an understanding to audience who is technical or non-technical. So I joined this uh, like a enterprise project, I would say. I was about to say complex, but enterprise project where they were already doing great testing. I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of test cases being ran every day. Obviously, many of them were failing, and there was a lot of maintenance cost, manual, automated. But then the senior leadership was still not very much, bought up with the idea like we are testing 1,000 test cases because they couldn't relate that to a value. And I joined that project, and the first thing I did when I joined the leadership team was like, I gave a presentation. I started with why we are building this app. Let's say a Android iOS app. Everybody said because we want customers, business, and all that. I said no. The goal is to deliver an Android and iOS app in Play Store to have a 4.7 star rating on an average, which is pretty good.
Hmm.
This is my team's goal. Now I'll tell you the story how to reach this step by step. From those 1,000 test cases to mapping that to 4.7 star was the journey you take.
Mm.
And again, you cannot plan for 5 years in 2 days and that plan would be perfect. No, you have to have those connecting dots kind of visualized. Okay, if 3 months from now I would be able to deliver this thing and this kind of still relates to that 4.7. So, and then you kind of keep on taking feedback. Am I doing it correct by your peers, developers? And I used to run NPS surveys, like internal NPS surveys. That I know is a bit funny, but I was able to get constant feedback from my peers, teammates, seniors, leaders, and that was helping me to keep me on my target to a 4.7. Or in your case, it would be different. So, telling the story which makes business sense to the one who is listening to you is very important. I think Michael kind of said the same thing in one of the comments here. But yeah, that's a skill I think all the leaders should skill up as soon as possible. It's not
Yeah.
something which you should be aware of from your
Yeah.
childhood. You can learn it. You can learn it by learning and reading. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's something, I think there's also something to um, be proactively bringing the information that impacts quality to the table. As I was kind of digging through one of the major conversations right now, in terms of threats to companies, and this is everywhere, and I don't think this is going to become a surprise to anybody, but data breaches and security vulnerabilities and addressing those. I mean, from a qualitative standpoint, security is sharply jumping to the top in terms of threats to organizations. One company, I'm looking at one of their statistics, they reported that in 2024, the average cost of a breach cost companies $5 million, and 80%, that this was the big one, is that 80% of companies are still experiencing data exposure and security breaches, even though they may not turn into massive data breaches, still having issues where they're having incidents happen on a regular basis. And, uh, it's, I back in the 90s, Paul, when we started testing, uh, security, I don't think, was really a hot topic back then. I mean, I think, you know, you heard about it occasionally, but it wasn't what it is today, right? It,
It's definitely different now. I was working in telecom, so we
yeah,
definitely made sure that you couldn't log in to the network control
yeah,
console without proper authorization. And then we couldn't have for us, it was a big deal because otherwise you could bring down AT&T's network
right.
across the whole country. So we definitely had security testing, but
Hmm.
I will agree that there was not a lot, but people weren't as aware of the issues. It was in
Right.
its infancy.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
In the 90s, there was no internet yet. There was
Right.
so there was things that were getting there. And okay, before anybody says it did exist, it did exist. It wasn't widely adopted.
It
There was
wasn't
no
widely
Google.
adopted. Right.
Yeah, like
The risk
Mm.
wasn't quite at the level it is today.
So,
correct.
so it was like, unaware, aware, afraid, and anxious kind of like
Yeah,
journey.
Exactly.
So you
exactly.
probably have seen the whole ecosystem. But yeah, I think it's security is one thing. We had security flaws, but then open source kind of brings a positive and the negative side of it as well. And
Mm.
and to the fast-paced development, people are, you know, npm install some dependency and then just get it done rather than writing a code for 3 weeks has kind of brought risk. And I also see continuous, even though we have continuous security assessments by these tools, but they're still kind of, people are sitting there to break it. So the the other side of the black side of the security, people who are trying to make it are also becoming smart with the use of AI, let's
Yeah.
say. Right, so you're right, Gwen. I think we have to be on top of this whole back and forth about how can we make sure we catch those
Hmm.
leaks or security flaws before someone else could. And it's,
Right.
I think ideally it's the same in testing. We try to
It
find all
is.
the defects in test environment before the
Yeah.
customer or end user would catch it. It
Hmm.
just, the role expectation from quality engineering has grown. I
It
mean, the
has.
expectation directly has come to us
Yeah.
in most of the cases. Yeah.
Right. Well, because that quality context has grown, right? It's not just about whether something works. It's gotta, now we're dealing with masses, like these massive enterprise complex systems that are made up of not one app, but like 100 different applications. And now we deal with microservices. So there's different layers. And and so,
Except something along that. I remember 10 years ago where if a piece of software I had downloaded didn't work, I was surprised.
right.
Now, if I download a piece of software and it works and I don't find bugs in it, I'm surprised
Yeah.
because the I one of the things that we haven't addressed, and I believe it is out of our control for now, is the public expectation of quality is
Mm.
substantially lower now than it was
Hmm.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And as an executive, I would be probably willing to sit there and say, we don't need to test as much as we did 10 years ago because the public expectation is that the software is going to be bad. Now, the one thing that they haven't taken into account is how excited are you when you use a piece of software and it fully works and you don't find any defects?
Right.
I I can't think of too often that that's happened, but I do think very happy, rosy thoughts about the company that put out that piece of software
Yeah.
because I'm not expecting it to work, to be honest. I'm truly expecting there. Now it depends again on the industry. If it's a bank or something else that's vital, my expectations are higher. I
Right.
don't expect my home internet to go down. I expect the reliability and the quality to be there in telecom, in banking, and in things like that. The trouble is the gray line as to Flappy Birds was horrible, but everyone liked it, so it worked, even though it was bug ridden. But it was an irrelevant game. It wasn't anything
Right. It wasn't
important.
critical business flow.
But now, web pages that have interactions and things, even things you pay for,
Yeah.
don't work properly.
Right.
And I would love to see us go back to our expectations as a country, as a world, that software is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Because if that expectation comes back, then the value of testers would have to come back. because, well, there's so many things that testers can do that AI can't.
Right.
And there's a lot that AI can do to help us and to get us better at our job. It can't replace humans yet. The
Yeah.
people have tried, and I can't think of any place where you're replacing a thinking human, not a somebody on an assembly line putting the same bolt in the same tire as it goes by. Things like that can be automated. If all you're doing is executing a scripted test and you're not doing anything outside of that, and you don't ask questions in meetings, and you're not showing value, and you're not being different, then yeah, you're going to be replaced because you can be. The
Right.
people who can't be replaced are the people who ask questions, who think critically, who can articulate models of the product, who can explain the worth of a defect or the irrelevance of a defect. I've come across
Yep.
bugs that I say we don't need to fix this because that's not going to probably happen in this controlled environment because it's only exposed to internal people. If it was exposed to external people,
Hmm.
then
Be a
it would
different
need to be
story.
fixed.
Yeah.
True.
And so I can make that recommendation, but I'm not, but, I, and I can also think critically, ask questions, and try to show more value than creating mindless automated checks
Hmm.
that
That gives a bit of that sneaky peeky happiness about like a release, but I think the trend is changing. I think we all know that we are, so they used to build versus buy. Now I think there is like how much you want build to do your job, like scripted tests which are like
Hmm.
you don't need any kind of sense, strong sense of human sense to test those. And then there is a part where it's like analytical part which would be human. It
Hmm.
would be human for a prolonged time period of time. But at some point of time, I think Gwyn mentioned, or maybe Peter, that we have to kind of cope up with the industry trends and the changing trends.
Hmm.
We did not had AI, so we are not even talking about it. In 2025, we have a thing called as AI, which is accessible, like unlike internet, which was there, but then it was
Basically a
not even
tool for you
accessible.
to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But one more thing to add to
yeah.
that, to the
Mm,
automation part. I was doing test automation for more than 8 years before I moved into consulting, and I'm still like primarily focused on projects where test automation is a necessity or a request by the client. And I think if you overdo automation and like completely neglecting manual testing, yes, there are some situations where it's possible, but then you lose, first of all, the human touch, like the actual end user feedback. Like, is it a product that I would like to use or that I will enjoy using? And there are some projects like games. Uh, yeah, maybe it's a bug-ridden small game, but I didn't pay for it. It takes a couple minutes away from my life. Maybe if I'm really bored and I play Flappy Bird for several hours, but I still enjoy it. I didn't pay for it. And that's it. But if I'm paying, and I just checked Cyberpunk 2077, it's still $60 on Steam, and it was released several years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was more expensive at that time, and it was a big flop. Unfortunately, it still brought in a lot of revenue for them, but a lot of lawsuits as well. So, do you want, like, again, like the expectations from a quality point of view, like what we are expecting? Of course, it
Yeah.
went down because you can always patch it. But when if you the only thing that you are doing now is patching, then people are going to be mad at you. So that's also like what's the level that you can go down is
Yeah.
also
yeah,
something to
there is a
consider.
limited appetite for these things, right? I mean, you cannot,
Yeah,
even if it's free, you cannot just launch a super buggy software. Ultimately, that's an effort. It's an end product of all the effort a team or a company does. Yeah.
yeah, and test automation is not going to tell you how. Like, of course, you can automate some things in gaming as well, like how like the characters moving around. But how you're going to verify what's going on is way more complex than verifying a web page or like two
Mm,
APIs communicating with each other. It's a
agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
you need
Yeah.
humans there.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
For sure. Well, we are coming to the end of our hour here. there is one thing that I wanted to do before we wrap up, because I've been talking about giveaways on these live streams, and it's about time for us to give something away here. So I'm looking
Oh, not
at
to
the
us.
participants on our thread, and we are going to be giving some free swag away to Tim
Woo!
Western.
Woohoo.
Tim Western is our winner today.
Way to go,
Um,
Tim!
Yay.
Thank you for
Nice.
joining us, Tim, and thank you for being such an active contributor on our chat feed today. Really, really great comments, really, really great additions to the conversation. And we've barely scratched the surface, right? I mean, we've introduced a lot of these concepts. Thankfully, we get a chance to dig into them a whole lot more deeply at Cast 2025. And so anyway, as far as the swag winning, Tim, we will reach out to you and make sure that we get that out to you. And then for those of you who are, again, on this,
I was about to say, yeah,
looking
you
at
haven't done today
this,
this. Scan
yes,
the
there
QR code.
is a really, really great discount available for those who are looking or viewing this live stream. Even if it's recorded, we will keep it open. Nice job. Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on how you're looking at it, Paul. So, but for me, it's right here.
Well, it depends on where I am
Yeah.
in the thing, but I'm assuming I'm in the lower right corner because I was last to join. So
Yep.
Well, so like if you actually have to go the opposite way.
yeah, I'm pointing at it.
Is it when I do this? Is it pointing at the right spot?
Perfect.
You
It's
are
perfect.
you are correctly pointing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Good,
that's
good.
good. Peter work too.
Yeah. So everyone,
There we
that's
go.
the direction. Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all. Thank you to all of you who are viewing this live stream today. Again, we're running out of time. We've got 26 days before cast. Please get your seat secured. We would love to have you there. We will be digging into this conversation a whole lot more deeply there, not only with this group of individuals, but with a whole lot more. So it's sure to be fun. We're sure to take away a whole lot of insights in terms of strategies to address this crisis today, and to help us prepare not only ourselves, but our teams for all that's coming our way as we continue to see the evolution of technology and our businesses. So thank you all.
Oh snap! I'm just trying to scan the QR code, and because live, it's not
It's on top
scanning
of it.
for me.
Oh, really?
Oh no, I got it.
Did you get it? Okay, good. I was gonna say I can also share the link on here if I need to.
Yeah, if you go full screen, then
then it'll
go
show
right up to it. I was trying to do it from further away, but it does work if you go right up to your screen.
Okay, good to know. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, again, the edge cases, right? So
yeah, exactly. Here we are. So we have
the human side of it.
today.
Yeah.
It's Paul, quit testing the application while we're in live stream.
Awesome.
Love it.
It's an old habit to break.
Well,
Amazing.
thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you all in person at Cast 2025, August 25th through the 27th. Get out there, get your tickets, join the conversation. We've got this topic and a whole lot more happening. It will be incredible. So yeah, get out there. I will make sure to include the link to, well, there is the link there, but that actually just takes you to the registration piece. So if you go out to associationforsoftwaretesting.org, you will find the links there to learn all about the event. And we look forward to seeing you all there. So thank you. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
thanks for the conversation.